Enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. I'm alive, alert, awake, alert, alive. I'm alive, alert, awake, enthusiastic. You're in for a special treat today. Welcome everyone to hashtag Savvy Social Saturday Live. And I've got the most amazing guests coming up soon, Patricia Mayo. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about, do you embrace or do you resist AI? So artificial intelligence. It is a hot topic these days, and I would love to hear Patricia's take on this. So you want to stick around for this conversation. So the topic of the day, do you embrace or resist AI? And if you're just tuning in, welcome. And please let me know what makes you savvy. S-A-V-V-Y. If you're curious to find out what this acronym stands for, I've got a video clip for you right now. Hold on one moment. I'll play for you this video clip and join the conversation. So now that you know what the SAVVY stands for, please put in the comments. Let me know what your skills, your positive attributes, your values, your victories, and your young at heart activities. Please share this in the chat and hey, connect with each other to network. So I have the distinct pleasure today of introducing our guest to hashtag Savvy Social Saturday Live, and that is Patricia Mayo. Patricia calls herself the Will Travel Board Executive, because she will come to you wherever you are and look over your shoulder to assess your operation systems and processes and maybe to help you identify some gaps that need to be addressed. Because she's a board executive, I put on my most board executive outfit I could find to really be into character today. And one thing to note about Patricia is that she primarily works with creative small businesses to the point of helping them establish a board and then continue with them even after that board is formed to get to over 150K per person in an organization. This is a sign of a healthy revenue business. Originally, Patricia's career started off in digital media and then traditional media, and her just constant, endless obsession for overall organizational excellence led her down many roads of pursuing continuing education and understanding how humans can come together first as a sum greater than their parts, lead the algorithm by being awesome first. So Patricia today is most excited about the AI technology because it's now democratized and we all get to use it. So please, everyone, help me in welcoming Patricia Mayo, and let's find out what makes her savvy. Welcome,
Hello.
Patricia.
Hello. I am awake, alive, and happy and enthusiastic. I'm so bad with hand motions.
Oh my gosh, were you doing that backstage?
Yes, I was dancing to the music too. I was like, ooh, da, 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 yeah. Anyway, so yeah, as you might imagine, I'm not exactly as stodgy as your typical corporate board executive. I really value the fun of everything. Like, why else be in business if not to have fun? Goodness. Anyway.
Exactly. You know, why stay in business if not to have fun? I love that. I love that so much. I am so excited you're here. I mean, we have come such a long way from our first summit together, which was the Stop Writing and Start Selling Summit. It was so much fun to be a part of that with you. And we called ourselves the Summit Besties.
So true, so true. I mean, immediately, like as soon as I saw you, I was like, oh, it was like, I mean, I'm half Hawaiian, so there's that heritage background that we kind of share to a certain extent. And then there's gosh, we just so energetically met eye to eye instantly. Like we were both just like, yeah, I'm here to cheerlead. oh, you're here to cheerlead. Hey, we're going to lock arm in arm. We're going to cheerlead the whole way through. And that's what we did. And it made it so much more fun to have like this bestie with me throughout the whole, I think it was my first conference speaking. So, I mean, I've done like little things, like I've done like, I'm the only person, like I'm doing a workshop kind of a thing, but this was the first time where I was actually speaking at a summit. And I've done plenty of event support before this. So it's one of those things where I kind of understood how events tend to run. Like I've been a showrunner, I've done things along those lines. So I knew how to kind of be in this space. Um, but it was one of those things where it was definitely my first time. And so it was like, oh, you get it. You're like me. Cool.
Exactly. And I have to say, because it was a virtual event, I mean, Brenda and Nicole, like, were just so fantastic in making sure that it was experiential enough so that we could feel like as if it was in person. And I think having a summit bestie, and I'm going to encourage everyone, if you are a speaker or an attendee at some sort of virtual event, like find your bestie because it makes such a difference. Because we were like have like our like sideline comments and chats, like we had Facebook Messenger, and we would just like message each other. Oh my God, did you hear that speaker? Do you know what you get out of that? What would you take away from that? And it really felt as if we were like linking arms in the hallway, like talking and gabbing. And it was just so much fun to have that, to have, and you don't have to do it with everybody, but just identify that one person that you're just normally gravitating towards and then continue the conversation and helping to reinforce some like new learnings with each other.
Oh yeah. And I think it's really key to find someone that you didn't originally know. Just find someone that you didn't originally know, and kind of, that sort of thing. Like try to do that. It's not really necessary. It's not so super key that you didn't really get to know them beforehand, but like someone that you really want to get to know better for sure. Like don't just keep going to these conferences with the same people and just kind of like be, that's like not the point, go there to network, go there to meet people, and you'll be amazed. Like I love meeting people because the one thing that I always expect is differences, and I cherish that so much. I love differences.
Excellent. And I really love this summit, especially because it just keeps paying forward, So we are continuing the experience, even that one time event is done. And like you and I finding ways to collaborate, we're inviting each other to different things. You're coming on as a guest of Savvy Social Saturday. And I just love that you just took on this initiative with me to fill out your Savvy acronym, which we'll get to in just a minute. So thank you. Thank you, Patricia, for being here.
Thank you so much. This is, oh, such a treasure. I love everything that you're doing. It's one of those things that every once in a while you see someone who's really doing everything they can to give to their community. Such a breath of fresh air. Thank you.
Wonderful. So I'm curious because I'm sure the audience wants to know too, like a board executive travel, like what does she do exactly, right? Because I've heard of executives in different capacities, and I've heard of like the fractional, VPs or the fractional COOs, etc. And so I'm wondering, is it like that where you're coming in, for a particular segment of a company, or how did you come into this work of a board executive?
That's an awesome question. So there are a lot of things that tend to go wrong when you are just a marketing person walking into a company. The general idea is like, oh, hey, here's the person who's going to come in, wreck the business inside 90 days, and then leave. And that is something that is very typically problematic, not because the marketing person decided to only be there for 90 days. It's typically problematic because the business owner didn't recognize that they needed that person longer term. So it's one of those. I worked for some time as a service provider, doing these sorts of functions for people. I was did marketing, I did sales, I did advertising, business development, for specifically in terms of the sales aspect. But it was never something where I was able to work to the depth that I really wanted to, or as was more often the case, I often didn't get paid what I was worth in terms of how much value I ended up producing in the company. And that was ultimately the big problem that made me go like, you know what, maybe there's an entirely different business structure that I need to look at. So it actually came across Guy Kawasaki, I actually edited one of Guy Kawasaki's books way long ago, Reality Check. And his business model mystified me for quite some time until one day I was kind of in a funk, and I was just going through every single type of learning that I possibly could. That was just, whenever I'm going through a funk, I make it a point to look at things that I don't normally look at. So I was going through a webinar on pitching venture capitalists. I'm very much vehemently against venture capitalism in many, many circumstances. Funding forward is much better. So here I am sitting there, watching about how to present to VCs so that you can get funding that I don't even believe in getting. But it landed. It just hit me. I was like, wait a minute, this is what Guy Kawasaki's model is. He's not a venture capitalist in money. He's a venture capitalist in evangelism. And that is very much where just kind of this whole board executive, will travel board executive concept landed for me. And sure enough, last year, I just kind of put it out there that, like, oh, what if I were to work with you in this respect? And I mean, I kid you not, it was instantaneous take up. I had 4 or 5 people going like, yes, please, yes. And so now it seems like that's the much more, it's solving the problem of short-term marketing department support, right? As opposed to service providers who tend to come in for 90 days, wreck everything, and leave. And it's also solving the problem of not actually getting paid the royalties that I was due, because now I'm in the board. I get a % stake in the company long term, and I get to stay in the company long enough term to really give them the insights and the full realization of what's really possible. And sometimes a fractional CMO or a fractional kind of executive can end up with that same perception of, oh, hey, here's someone who's just going to touch and go and leave. And it is unfortunately common that a lot of people feel like they can just kind of give a short-term result and the company will be just fine like that. Well, if you've ever looked at the dashboard column of a car where, this sudden year they decided to move the place where you put the key in and turn it, instead of being in the usual spot right here behind the steering wheel, it's now on the other side of the dashboard. And you see, if this car is any amount of years age, there's there's all these scratches around where the key ignition used to be. It's because adoption is not easy. Adoption never happens quickly. So you need to bring progressive little steps so that people can kind of get used to it. So I needed something where I would be able to be there longer term and would be able to stay with them, and also profitable for me over the longer term, because I tend to, how do I put this? I tend to create 5 to 25 times more output per 2 weeks that I put in. So if I'm there for 2 weeks, I see 5 to 25x output after about 6 weeks after I do those 2 weeks. It's a different environment.
That's incredible. My gosh. Wow. Thank you for sharing that with us, that clarification. And what a cool concept that you have developed. And like you're an actual stakeholder. And so you're personally invested for the time that you're there, to help
Yeah,
this company scale up.
I like
I
it
love
that way.
Yeah. And then I think, it's so cool because I can see why someone would want to hire you, because I mean, I can only imagine like navigating legal paperwork when you're deciding between like an S corp or a C corp, and what, the tax implications may be, and what, the business regulations may be for your particular state or entity, right? Like you need someone that's going to be able to navigate that. And you've got such a keen eye for making those like non-obvious connections.
Oh, definitely. So oh gosh, one of the big struggles that a lot of people have in terms of just like, when do I even organize a real business? Like, is it even a real business if I haven't made the legal stuff go on? And then once I've got the legal stuff going on, like, why should I bother with more legal stuff? A lot of people, they form the LLC and they're like, yeah, this is great, this is all I need. Or they form the S Corp and or anything along those lines, and then they get to tax day. And on tax day, they realize that, gosh, I still owe like 35% of my income to the government. And it doesn't have to be this way. And a lot of people get this notion that, with a corporation, you're getting taxed twice. And yes, you are getting taxed twice, but you get to keep about $30,000 more per every $100,000 that you bring in as a C Corp versus any other kind of organization. And it's one of those like, oh, how do I even navigate all of this? And if you don't understand the whole breadth of what's going on in the business world, then you definitely end up, oh, you're muted. But yeah, if you don't have the whole context of what's going on in the business world, you're very hamstrung in being able to make a good deal. Ooh.
Excellent. Yes. Oh, wonderful. So let's get back to the topic for the day. I was asking everyone, and I'm curious to hear if you're watching this in the chat. Let us know. Are you one that embraces or do you resist AI? So, Patricia, how
Yes.
about you? What is your stance on this?
I am somebody who very, very enthusiastically embraces AI. I am so glad that it is finally democratized, because what a lot of people don't realize is that AI has been involved in your life for decades now. There's been, okay, the way that your grocery store is organized was figured out to a certain extent by AI. The way that your ads come on your screen, that's been figured out by AI. The videos that your TikTok videos, your YouTube videos, those are all figured out by AI. Your Google search is figured out by AI. And a lot of people like to think that just because it's not a super intelligent AI that can think just like a human being, that it's not AI. No, it is AI. An expert system or anything along those lines is still artificial intelligence. And it has been affecting your life for decades. And it's about dang time you realize how to use it yourself, because there's so many things that you can do with it if you actually learn how to poke around with it. And not only that, it actually teaches you leadership skills. Because if you can direct ChatGPT to give you a good output, chances are really good you know how to direct people to get what you want out of them. If you can give ChatGPT enough context, you can give humans enough context to effectively do what you want to do. So now that it's democratized and everybody can use it, do. Because very quickly now that it's democratized, very quickly now, there's going to be this divide between the people who know how to use AI and the people who don't, because there's no excuse anymore. You don't have to be working at Microsoft in order to touch AI. You don't have to be working at Facebook in order to touch AI. You can touch AI right here, right now, and start enhancing and expediting yourself. It's not about replacing you, it's about expediting you. And that's why if you don't use it now, you're going to be left behind, because everybody else will be expedited.
Oh, that is so cool that you say that, Patricia. Yeah, because you don't have to be a Microsoft or Google, coder to have access to AI. That we can be a leader in understanding how to use these prompts. So speaking of prompts, I came across an article, and I'm curious to hear your take on this too. That you can get so good with the prompt engineering that people are now talking about licensing that, so that way so they can make money off of that now, like just the way you input your chat prompts.
So that's going to be a very short-lived business model. Um, in large part because the fact that you can just ask ChatGPT to improve your prompt for you. So it's like, oh, how could I have prompted you initially in order to get that? And it's really just about technique, So it's just you make sure that you give it the context. It's not you're not trying to teach it a method. You're trying to teach it just the. I'll put it this way. Within just a few prompts, ChatGPT is able to figure out an entirely different language that it was never trained on. It doesn't need a method in order to figure out something. It needs an example. So if you give it examples and then you give it some clear direction, you're going to get some amazing outputs from it every time. And if you didn't get an amazing output, you can say, well, that wasn't quite what I was looking for. How about this? And how could I have prompted you to get that in the first place? Like I said, it's going to be a very short-lived business model, but
That is incredible. And I just came off of another summit. I guess I'm got a summit junkie. I get asked to, present all the time on summits, and I love attending, new presentations by speakers that I've not met yet. And I got to meet on the Authority, Influence, and Profit Summit that was organized most recently by Kelly Falardo, Chuck Anderson, and Michelle Abraham. That I got to meet Carla White, and she was talking about how you can use AI to clone your voice for podcasts, and that just like blew my mind. I was like, "What? There's a new thing now I can get into," because I would love that. I would love a cartoon avatar of Olivia and like see how my voice could be cloned and do a whole like segment on that. Like it's amazing, and like you said, like AI has been affecting your life in ways you weren't even realizing it, and now there's all these new cool things you can do with it if you took the time to learn.
definitely. Actually, so when we were at the Stop Writing Start Selling Summit, I only at the time when I first was asked to, by the way, I only had like 2 days notice. So when I was first asked to go on the summit, I only had my PDF, which is, more better Amazon reviews as my giveaway. And they're like, well, after they heard my presentation, they're like, why don't you make a like worksheet for people to do that? And I was like, that's a great idea. And then I had ChatGPT help me to code it so that it made a lot of handy little automations for it. It took me like 2 hours. And I made something that I now can resell repeatedly for a significant profit. Like ChatGPT taught me how to do the whole thing. I've never done this before. Okay. Yes, I've put like formulas in a spreadsheet, but I've never made it so that somebody could just go to the spreadsheet, duplicate the spreadsheet, and then use it the way that they want to. That was so cool. And dude, I mean, I started, put it this way, granted, I do have a significant background in coding. I was coding in BASIC before I was speaking at all. So that's something where like I definitely have a greater understanding of how to do coding and things like that. I get that there are certain best practices, and there's plenty of people who wouldn't really be very capable of making it create a coded output, because sometimes it takes expert direction, and it is about that expert directed AI. you know if you know how to actually do the thing, and then you tell ChatGPT to kind of just do it faster for you, that's where you're using it really the best. And it was just amazing to me that it could tell me like, yeah, so you open up this dialogue on Google Sheets, and then you put this in there, and then you save it, and then you just make it so that you can share it and people can copy it, and then it works. I'm like, you kidding me? Okay. And I did it, and it wasn't so hard.
And it's amazing. And then you're working with an AI SEO company right now as their board executive. And I think I recall you saying like you put out this entire press release using ChatGPT. What normally would have taken you like maybe a week, you got done in a couple hours.
Oh yeah. And so I wasn't even, oh gosh. So, okay. During the week that I was putting out these press releases was the same week of the summit. Okay. And also the same week of the summit, I think it was the same week of the summit when we were doing all of the pre-prep, was when I had a takeover day in a Facebook group. And I published a month's worth of content in one day on that takeover day on that Facebook group, using just Facebook, just the phone tools for ChatGPT. Like I didn't even use the desktop version. The desktop version, we did a dry test, and it took a grand total of 2 hours. Okay, for the desktop tools, it took me, I think it was a total of 30 hours overall in order to, take all of that stuff from ChatGPT and put it in for that takeover day. And then yes, the press releases I put out, I have a persona now that helps to write all of my press releases for this AI SEO company. And it's different from the AI SEO company itself, because the AI SEO company itself also has a persona. So it's also using its own brand language in this programmed thing, and it does the things that you need to do more consistently than a human ever could. It just knows, like, yeah, we need an intro and we need a CTA. Like, oh gosh, I always forget the CTA. Ooh.
Awesome. I love it. I love it that you're so excited with this topic. And there's more to come, right? I mean, there's going to be more to come as we embrace AI. All right. So now let's dive deep into your Savvy acronym. I love everything that you contemplated on to really make this your own. And it really speaks to you. And I just love seeing this outcome for people whenever they go through the exercise. So for your skill, you wrote down here, you're a complex systems nerd. I think I
Oh,
saw a post on Facebook the other day about you where you're like, I just love playing with big data sets and working spreadsheets and
and that's
materials.
what I get to do. And that's, it's like, that's what I wanted to do for work. I'm like, just let me play in the spreadsheets. And now it's like, oh, I get to play in spreadsheets and pull out facts and make case studies, and it's just so freaking fun.
And then one of your positive attributes that you wrote here is that you're honest. Yet, maybe sometimes you're too honest for your own good. So I love that, right? I mean,
Oh
being
yes.
honest with yourself. I think sometimes, like I catch myself like telling myself these lies. So just being honest with yourself too is a
Being
key
honest
factor.
with yourself is a huge start, and so many people struggle with being honest with yourself in general. I tend to do personal challenges to myself once a year. So like for this year, and this was something that I did, I think it was 2007. Like, I'm going to be 100% honest with 100% of the people, 100% of the time, including myself. That was tough. I didn't speak much that year. So, uh, but that level of honesty really greatly helped me to understand how much honesty is really important, and when, how to time that, and to be able to, regard and respect people. And when I say that I'm honest, sometimes too honest for even my own good, and I will never change that, because I cherish the fact that when somebody comes to me and they say, like, I there was a lot that I did in traditional media, traditional publishing, and things like that. And I worked a lot with authors. And many, many, many times they would come to me and say, like, I need a traditional publisher. And I would say, what are your goals? And they would say, well, I want to make a lot of money. And I'd say, no, you don't need a traditional publisher. And here I am, the marketing agent for, marketing coach for 86 authors for a traditional publisher, saying, like, no, you don't want to hire us. You should go. Because, and I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much about myself, and I will never change that about myself. I really, really prefer to actually solve problems. There was a sales coach that I had for a brief time, and I fired him immediately upon him saying, you can't be in business actually solving problems. I was like, the heck I can. First order of business, firing you. So,
Executive decision right there.
yep, yep.
So for the next letter V for values, you wrote down here, uniquely human value. And I love this because it says that we as humans have got real work to do that no robot or computer or software could ever replace or do.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is so massively important. A lot of people, they associate their value with what they produce. And one of the things that I very commonly say is, you are worth so much more than what you do. In fact, you have intrinsic priceless value. And the work that society is asking of you right now is not necessarily your highest value. So that's why I deal a lot in delegation and creating delegation plans, and things along those lines, and eliciting from you, what is your value, what is your purpose, what is it that you really want to get done in this world, because it is so super important, not just to your soul, but also to the quality of your work, that what you're doing is whole heart, body, soul in. And as soon as you are in that spot, it's amazing what happens. When you are awesome, when you come into being an awesome, like, you're just like, oh, I'm so awesome every day. Then you come together as a sum greater than your parts. Then you end up creating so much more together, because we've got this zone of genius coming in and being the smartest person in their room for that concept, and then you've got you, and it just, it makes so much more happen when you are not sitting here concerned about all these things that you don't need to be concerned with. It's just that simple. So I forgot my point. My point was along the lines, oh, right, we have so much, yes. So you have unique work to do. You have so much more unique work to do as a human being. And it's not about writing. It's not about promoting. It's not about any of that. No. We are here to serve, to love, and to create. Those are our three unique jobs. That's our unique work as human beings. And so long as we're fulfilling those things, which actually, these are kind of my adaptation from Dan Pink's book Drive: The Surprising Truth about what really motivates us. And his concept on that is that it is autonomy, mastery, and purpose, which ultimately drives our greatest productivity. So I've melded that into the concept of to serve, to love, and to create. And then beyond that, it's actually layered into, I figured it out, it's actually layered into the Stoic virtues of justice, duty, and courage, and at the center of it, wisdom. So it's one of those interesting kinds of like everything just keeps lining in together. The more that I integrate with it, it just kind of fits in. We have some very unique work to do in terms of connecting with humans and making this world our one beautiful shared home.
Well said, Patricia. I love that so much. Well said. Excellent. And I want to celebrate with you because V for Victory, this AI SEO company that you've been working with, has now discovered that they can track 1/3 of all clicks on the internet. That is incredible. Wow.
It's one of those, like, we're aiming for 2/3 by the end of this year, but yeah, it's and it's not just that, like, oh, we know about 1/3 of the clicks on the internet. Actually, we know about 1/3 of the clicks of the internet and their entire history. We can map a customer journey from the first time that they encountered your website to what they went to afterwards, and then where they went all along the way until they came back to your site and then looked at your about page and then went to another thing. And we can track all of that. And we're able to then build personas based on real data of the real customer journey, feed that into the AI, and it just goes out and finds you. And then when it goes out and it finds you, and then we take that data and we put it back into Google, we're getting like 98% audience match. So that means that Google is able to find and identify 98% of the people that we gave it. 98%. Now, the most recent data set that we ran into with one of those, we had like 5 million people in that data set. 5 million. Uh-oh, it looks like it almost looked like we froze. But no, we had 5 million people in that data set with 98% match. It's nuts. It's, you know, just a few people.
Well, that's exciting. This is a huge accomplishment. I'm so excited for you for this milestone, for this company. And it looks like you're on track. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right. And for the young at heart that you've written here, it's you engage in daily prayer. And I love that you said that you remind yourself to continuously look at the world through a child's eyes. Beautiful.
Oh, it's so precious. So this was something that I started picking up when I was going through, I had very severe anxiety for about 5 years. It woke me up every morning without, it wasn't, I hadn't even had a single solitary thought. And all of a sudden, I was just woken up bolt upright for 5 years with this covered in sweat convulsions, just atrocious, like most panic of panic attacks. And I started praying every day. And that started helping me to, like, that was like praying was getting me through the panic. It would get me to a point where I was more able to function just to sit here and pray. And so it became a recitation of sorts. And so I still keep it, I still do it because it's a really, really good reminder. It always brings me back to that center. And it's a really good reminder. So it begins, I think, all selves. So not just an entity, not just any, all selves. Myself, yourself, all selves. I thank all selves for this day and its blessings and our challenges which lead us to our blessings. Because, sometimes if we don't lose, we don't really get to win as well, right? So I thank all selves for this day and our challenges which lead us to our blessings. And may we walk our path with grace and see it with a child's eyes and a full cup. And may this meal be blessed to purity and bless us to good health with all love and good intentions. But that is just one of those, like, every day, twice a day, so important to me, because if I don't do that, I definitely find that it's easy to forget. It's very easy to forget.
That's such a beautiful prayer. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And as we close with the show, I want to spotlight you so that we can talk about who is your savvy match. So tell me 3 criteria and what you're looking for in a savvy match.
Ooh, a savvy match. So we're talking about like people that we could like I can totally just like jive with.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
maybe
Oh
in
yeah.
your next big venture, as a board executive, or someone that you're looking to collaborate with. So who makes your savvy match?
Oh gosh. So highly inventive. Like you've got 1.5 million ideas a minute, and you just don't really necessarily know which one is going to be so powerful. So you're just massively invented, too many ideas to be able to contain it. Um, Another one might be like you've got some technical know-how, but it's one of those, like, there's just so much to the business scape in terms of how many tools you could possibly use. Like you've got some technical know-how, but it's still one of those things you kind of struggle to be able to implement everything. So there's that. But I don't really need too much technical know-how. I actually managed to teach people who don't speak English as a first language to do about 90% of what any expert does. That's what I started in digital media doing about 2006. So you don't need to have a whole lot of technical know-how, but technical know-how helps. And then for a third, I think that most important of all, you got to care. If you really, truly, genuinely are just like, humans are so amazing, I love you. Like that's
Awesome. So, in a nutshell, Patricia would love to connect with you for her savvy match. If you're massively inventive and that you care, that you're teachable, and also if you've got some technical know how. So, she will be a great resource for you. So, with that, we'll end the show. But thank you, Patricia, so much for being on here. This has been such a delightful conversation. I think we've explored everything that there is to explore. And I adore you for being uniquely human.
thank you. You're so awesome. And it's only the beginning.
It's only the beginning, indeed, indeed. So, everyone, play the long game of relationship building. And it's something that we talk a lot about in this book here. It's the Ready, Connect, Grow book. I've got a chapter in here about building LinkedIn relationships. So I highly encourage you to read it. And, Patricia and I have just met over the course of a month, but this is where it starts, right? Just one progressive step at a time. It doesn't happen overnight that we're going to jump into business together, but take the time to play the long game of relationship building. All right, fantastic, Patricia. Have a wonderful travel to your next destination. I know you're looking to leave Arizona pretty soon, so I wish you luck on your travels.
Thank you. I'm hoping to run into you before we depart Arizona. So we
Yes,
might just.
we'll be there on the 26th. So yes, if you can hang around until I arrive, that'd be fantastic. Can't wait to give you a hug. That would be like just yeah, so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend, everybody. And I can't wait. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Likewise. All right. Have a great weekend. See you guys all again next time. And remember to be savvy.
Aloha.
Aloha.